This is the Wedding Remix.
The Wedding Remix, providing inspiration, education, and awareness of elite wedding professionals. Here's your hosts, Lizzy Liz, Jacob Thader, Armando Cepeda. This is the Wedding Remix. Hey, this is the Wedding Remix. My name is Armando Cepeda. I'm so glad that you can join us for another episode. We are here once again to inspire, educate, and create awareness of the best in the wedding profession in our industry, especially at a time when we all could use some connection, and we want to connect with you via social media. When you like, follow, share, subscribe, get the word out of what we're doing, and let's do this together. Let's get into our episode with our hosts, Lizzy Liz of Lizzy Liz Events and Jacob Thader of Thader Made. Jeannie Savage has established a reputation of excellent event management and produces original, fresh, and innovative design concepts. Jeannie specializes in destination brides who live out of state or country, multiple day events, and celebrity clients. Prior to opening Details in 2003, Jeannie was general manager of several full-service hotels. Managing 200 employees and dealing with over 40 vendors, Jeannie's creativity and impeccable taste continue to produce elegant, extraordinary, and unforgettable events. Please enjoy our conversation with Jeannie Savage of Details with our hosts, Lizzy Liz and Jacob Thader.
Welcome to the Wedding Remix. We have Jeannie Savage from Details today. Thank you so much for joining us and spending time.
Thanks for having me.
Yay. Can you share your path to getting into the hospitality industry?
Yeah, so I actually started in restaurants in college. So I worked as a sophomore at Cheesecake Factory, and it was a crazy restaurant, like 2-hour waits for a party or two. And it was just great opportunity for me to understand how to deal with people and people's temperaments. Like people would, back in the day, we would have to give people like a pager, and we would tell them it's a 2-hour wait and go shop in the mall and come back. And people would be furious because they're hungry. Like it's been 2 hours, 2 hour, 10 minutes. I've had like pagers thrown at me because they just waited so long. And it's understandable. Like they're just starving at that point. But I really enjoyed learning a lot from the managers there and having patience and just really trying to be empathetic and just really, because you're the front line. They're like, you're the only people they get to talk to until they get like food on the table, until they see a server. So I think the hospitality industry started off with the restaurant training. And then so I was a trainer for them after a while. And then I went to go work at another restaurant because one of the managers left. And so he had me open up a couple restaurants for him. And this was all during college. And I was like, this is great money. You get like cash, when you go home at the end of the night. And then on my senior year, I had a couple gentlemen I was serving dinner, and they said that they're like, have you ever thought about going to the hotel side, the room side? Because now you know the food and beverage side. Would you want to go to the room side? And I was like, no, I'm like, that Asian American immigrant, I'm going to law school. So like I had to study for my LSATs. They're like, well, you could just do it during, like after senior year, you could just like go through a management training program at 7 to 3. And I was like, oh, that's not bad. Like I'm in out of work. I have the rest of my day. I could still study. I could still take night courses. So definitely, long story short, it was a great transition from like restaurants working into hotels. And then I never went to law school, never took that LSAT, and then just continued on working in hotels. I worked in DoubleTree, Hilton Family Hotels. So I worked my way up to general manager at 2 of their properties before I went to wedding planning.
Wow. It's great that you have that background in hotels to then help you with the wedding planning side.
Yeah. I try to explain that to my Asian parents who still don't understand what I do. I said, no, I get to use my resume. Like I get to use, my resume towards like wedding planning, and I have hotel background. They're like, sure. Yeah.
They're like
LSATs.
They have like an empty wall space for your law degree.
My dad still says, like, do you still want to go back to law school? Like, we'll pay for it. I'm like, no, Dad, I'm way beyond that right now. But I guess people are going back to law school like in their 30s and 40s. So I guess it's not.
You never know.
Yeah.
What inspired you to start your own business?
I was actually interviewing wedding planners. So I was married and divorced now, but I was married. And when I was interviewing wedding planners, a lot of them didn't understand things that I knew from the hotel side. So when it came to rooming lists and creating room blocks and discussing like the logistics of how you would work with a hotel. And I was thinking, okay, how is it possible that I know more than the people that I'm interviewing? So I think that it kind of said to me like, oh, maybe this is something that could be a potential career path, because I do love, speaking with people and servicing. At the same time, I didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom or housewife. There's nothing wrong with that, because I actually think that's way harder than doing what I do. Yeah. But I figured like I'm just more of like the working woman. So I thought this might be a good possibility for me.
What was your business plan when starting out, and how has it evolved over the years?
I definitely didn't think I was going to grow into more wedding planners. I think when I first started off, I thought it was just me, myself, and I. And when I went into it, I realized maybe after the third or fourth year, because I think in 2007 was a really, like, our economy was great. Like, 2007 was amazing. Like, I was booking events left and right. And I realized that I was turning away business. And I think that would be for anybody who is by themselves and looking at potentially growing. It's like, at what point do you say to yourself, when do I bring on other planners? And I think you have to look at your supply and demand, and look at your leads, and look away at what you're turning away. So I think that was for me to assess that from a revenue standpoint of servicing and seeing like how many opportunities am I turning away because I'm booked. So if I brought on another person that can take on those leads, then I could especially grow. And so it's just kind of a slow growth. Like, you don't want to just bring on like 5 people at once. You kind of want to say, okay, great. Now bring on one person. Okay, how many events can we both take on a year? Okay, now we're at like 30, 40, 50 events. Okay, can we take on another 20 more events? Okay, good, bring on a third person and so forth.
So Jeannie, how many people do you have on your team right now?
So there are 6 in addition to me. So there's 7 of us.
And then how do you manage a successful team with all of these people?
I think it's like we have our different market segments, which is great, because I think, and it's also territorial. So Alicia lives in Los Angeles, Christy is in San Diego. The other 5 of us live in Orange County. Amber is my office manager, but she's also my production manager. So she comes with me in most of my events. Mm-hmm. And then the other girls who are in Orange County, like some say, you know what, I don't want to take on like an Indian wedding. Or some people say, you know what, I don't know how to execute an Egyptian or Lebanese wedding. So we have, I think, different market segments and different cultures that some girls are maybe more skilled at or also more comfortable servicing. So I think it's helpful that we have a really large, I would say, target audience. Like, we isn't just like specifically like one type of clientele. I think we could service a large range. And by having a group of dynamic women, we're able to accommodate that, solution.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest challenges of managing the team?
I think I would say right now it's a little bit harder because we're kind of all like in our own little world,
Yeah. Normally.
Yeah. So normally I would say, we get to see each other more because we go to like industry events and we get to have that connection. But I think it's important not to force people to actually go to events every time. Like, everybody has lives. So I think it's a balance. So I think what's helpful, when I was by myself, I felt like I had to go to every single thing. I had to go to like every network event. I had to go to like every luncheon. And I think we're able to kind of spread out the, events and responsibilities so you don't feel like you're going to things like 6 days a week. Yep. And so that's, I think, definitely helpful to be able to, we get to see each other. So it's nice to be able to do that. But at the same time, we're not pressured to have to go to like every single invitation.
Yeah. And then I know that you kind of touched on when you were first starting, taking on 30 weddings a year on your own, and then taking on 20 more with another planner that you brought on. Normally, how many weddings does Details take on throughout the year?
Probably on an average of like 120.
Yeah, so it's great that you have that team to be able to spread that out.
Yeah. And it varies. Like some events are just, multiple days, and some events are like smaller events where you might only have like 30 people. So it's a big range. Like, our biggest wedding was 1,200 people.
Wow.
And so we had to bring on like a large number of people, and other lead planners also actually had to help as well too. Yeah. So, yeah.
Is that typical for other lead planners to come on and either assist you or other planners on your team?
No. I would say we all take on our own separate clients, unless it's something like extreme like that.
Yeah.
So in that case, it was
people.
Yeah. In that case, I was like, I begged Samantha. I'm like, Samantha, come help me. I'm like, I need you to help manage John Legend. So she's like, okay. That was an easy like convincing.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So how many weddings do you take on personally?
Probably about like still 25 to 30 a year.
Okay. So you still stay pretty busy yourself then.
Yeah. Again, I think it's one of those that, I think it's important when you run a company that you don't get like complacent and you can't just send people out to do events and that you just say, you know what, all right, the girls could do the work and then I'll just sit back. I think it's important for me to still be involved in setting trends, still be involved in communication with vendors and continuing those relationships. And at the same time, it's like there's, challenges in the industry. And if I'm not in it to see what's happening with, like right now with what's happening with our industry, you kind of just can't just say, okay, like hopefully let someone else figure it out. Like you need to still be like in it and figure out how to like things that you discuss with your client and you say, okay, this was a great solution. This is what I suggested to this client. What can I do to share that information to the other planners when we discuss those things with, their clients?
Yeah. And you're still passionate about yourself. So it's not like you want to just hand off all your weddings to everyone.
Yeah.
You want to still do it. You want to still be there.
I know. I love it. I love seeing like events come to fruition. That's like the best part.
What are other challenges that you feel that you go through as a business owner?
I think as a business owner, there's just a lot more like overhead that maybe sometimes people don't realize that there is as far as like, office rent. I know a lot of planners, I'd say like majority don't necessarily have to pay rent or have an office and can work from home. I wish I was one of those now. No, just kidding. but I'm just totally joking. I think it's important for us to have an office, especially when there's a team of people. But I think there's just a lot of overhead. There's every little thing from, postage and just mailing out things like, USPS, like just mailing out one letter, to within California, it's like $8, priority mail. It all adds up. Even like our IT services. A few years back, my Outlook crashed and I still had my own email server. I never used like Gmail or anything, but my whole software crashed and I never had like a full backup. And I lost like 40,000 emails. And it was probably like a miserable, like not day, but weeks, because now you have to go through every single client file and try to find like information, email it back yourself, look at all your notes and just really go through and talk to all the vendors and have all the vendors email you back copies of contracts just so you have it electronically. So after that, I was like, okay, I need to spend the money on having a separate server in addition to just making sure that this doesn't happen just to me, but then all the girls. So that's not just like one fee, but then now you're like, okay, 7 Microsoft Outlook Office, and then the separate fee, just to like, and as your memory gets bigger, your fee gets higher. Like the more emails come in. And I've always like joked with the girls, I'm like, those emails from 7 years ago, do you want to delete any of them?
Yeah, can we archive them?
And then, and Alicia will be like, no. And I'm like, damn it. So definitely there's a lot of, I think, expenses that, you don't necessarily share with the team. You don't say like, okay, for every gig, I have to pay this much money. Like that's not something they should be worrying about. But as a business owner, you have to think about that. Everything from just even like air conditioning in the office, and how it affects your, your Edison bill. Like if we're not here, we need to make sure to turn it off. Just so simple things like that.
Yep.
We'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Encore Event Entertainment. It's all about the experience. Encore Entertainment's premier-level showmanship and talent is guaranteed to create a one-of-a-kind experience for your event. Encore has provided award-winning entertainment to some of the most lavishly designed events worldwide and is equally celebrated as a trusted source of talent amongst the elite in the event industry. Encore provides incredible live music for extraordinary events with a continuous variety of evolving live and virtual music options. Connect with the Encore team and begin creating the soundtrack for your next live or virtual event. Visit us at encorexp.com. And now back to the interview.
Can you tell us a bit more about your sales and pricing strategies?
Yeah, so we are flat fee structures and we actually post our prices on the website. I know that's kind of not the norm. I've been scolded by many planners that I shouldn't post my prices out there, but at the same time, I feel like I'm not the norm. I always feel like I have to do what's best for me and the company and what makes sense from a marketing perspective. I think for us, it's like you don't want to just put your information out there, make it such eye candy, but then if the client can't afford you, it ends up being something disappointing for that person or very uncomfortable for that person. So I feel like by putting that out there, I'm able to already deflect in some ways without hurting or insulting, because some people could get kind of upset when they, are annoyed in your conversation and all of a sudden you tell them prices. I've had people who didn't look at the pricing before they called, and then you go into these conversations and then they're like, I can't believe you charge blah, blah, blah. So I've had some of those interesting conversations as well. But, I think it's important to put it out there. So I feel like I've done that from day one. When I first started the company, I've never not put prices on the website.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that it's awesome that you share that. And that it's not something you're scared to hide or talk about. So thanks for letting us know. I know that you and your team all get to work with amazing clients, and often that comes with amazing budgets as well. What are some of the biggest challenges of working with larger budgets versus more conservative budgets?
I think clients who have larger budgets have really high expectations. They're looking for a very personalized wedding. So they're looking at a lot of creative ideas. And they may ask for more creative ideas than the average bride, just because they have the money to back up those ideas. So if they want something that's super interesting, whether it's 6-foot ice butlers or, I think just, iPad, save the dates. Yeah. If they're looking to spend, that kind of money, then they're really looking for you to give it your all. But at the same time, with those high expectations, for a creative person, it's so fun. Yeah. Because then you could throw out like 20 ideas and, they might only pick like 2, but it allows you to get like your creative juices going and then just seeing like what sticks. Like I have this one family, the dad was so fun. I mean, I love the bride too, but the dad was like, he was like the party planner. And he was like, Jeannie, just give me all these ideas. Like, we may not do it, but just say, like, if this was your wedding and you didn't have a budget, what would you do? So he was one of those that was like everything from, the ice butlers to they got engaged in Paris. We did an Eiffel Tower ice sculpture. Like, it was just one of those that it just didn't stop. Like anything that you could think of, like they did. And they did this amazing gift station. And it was like, I'm talking about like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of products, everything from every food item you could think of that was local, from like chocolates to popcorn to chips to like iPhone battery chargers to everything you could think of, like scarves and t-shirts and baseball caps. I mean, just anything you could think of, rosé. I mean, like anything you could think of. It was like in this gifting lounge. And the dad was like, throughout the night, he was like, Jeannie, did you see that guy? He filled up his bag. But he's like, and then these bags were stuffed to the rim. And he's like, he's a billionaire, but look at all the stuff that's up. So it was just so much fun. It was literally like 70-year-olds, 67-year-olds in like a candy shop of just grabbing everything they can, because it was just like so much fun. And he just had fun watching his friends like would take, he's like, he doesn't need that scarf. I don't know why he took that scarf, but it was fun to be able to work with someone like that. But you do have super high expectations, because if they have big budgets, they're expecting a lot creatively on your end.
Oh, that sounds like that was an amazing event. And it's great that you got to create that opportunity
Yeah.
for the dad to have such a good time out of such an unexpected moment when it's supposed to be about the bride. But
I know
that happened.
It was one of those where it was, we ordered so much stuff that we started getting stuff in pallets. And it was in the front of my driveway. So I couldn't even park in my garage. And I would have to call like the Florishana. I'm like, you need to bring your vans because I can't even put them in my like Jeep anymore. Like I can't even fill up my car because it's in a pallet, you know? So he definitely went overboard, but it was really fun. It was really fun.
Problems you don't even think of sometimes. Yeah. How to move pallets out of your garage from the client's order. So what is your design process when working with clients most of the time? How do you start from a concept that they're kind of talking about or sometimes not even knowing what they want to then ending with that final product of a gifting room or 6-foot butlers? What's your process like?
I actually think I would say about half the clients have some sort of idea of color. Like some people do have like an idea of like what kind of color they want, or maybe, you know, like a sophisticated wedding, a rustic wedding. So people do kind of general have a little bit of an idea. But for me, I tend to try to pull out things in their personal life because the wedding part is dynamic. I feel like it's never exact. We're never going to do exactly what they show me, whether it's a photo or something on Pinterest. Like I don't want to copy that.
Yeah.
So I try to ask them about things they know how to answer. Because they don't know, most of the time they don't know the names of flowers. So don't even start with like flowers. So kind of start talking to them about like their lifestyle, you know, like how they met, where they live, what does their house look like? Where do they shop? Are they Z Gallery or are they like Pottery Barn? Or are they Crate and Barrel, you know, Restoration Hardware? Like you kind of have to look at things that they know. Like, do you shop at Gap or do you shop at like Intermix? Like you kind of start going through different lifestyle questions. Like, where do you guys like to eat? Are you more into like street tacos, or do you like, you know, like food with foam on top, you know? So you kind of have to go through like the extremes of their personal taste and lifestyle. And then from that, you could kind of start dissecting of things that they maybe like or don't like. And then you could approach them with designing a wedding that makes sense to like their own personal space. So when someone walks into the room, they're like, oh my gosh, I could see why she chose that. This is her. This kind of looks like her home. You know, it has like some sort of semblance of their personality.
Yeah, and then that can make the couple feel more comfortable as well on their wedding day. Because a lot of the time I think people think they know what they want in a wedding. They want this big oversized chandelier of florals, or they want these massive centerpieces. And those aren't really the personal touches that they're going to feel comfortable with when they're walking into a room, or that guests are going to be like, wow, this really represents Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So that's great that you get to know them like that. And I know that you've gone viral on Pinterest and that you've had a couple different publications. So can you share some different strategies for that?
I would say, I think we got lucky on Pinterest. I mean, I can't say that. I think back in like that time frame when Pinterest was super hot. Now it's like so much stuff. Like you could type in like 20 keywords and you don't know what you get. It's like a mess. So I think during that time, we produced some really cool events at some venues that were just recently open, like Pelican Hill. And so it was really amazing to see some photos that were just pinned over and over and over again. Just because I think it was a new space and it was just like a really pretty couple, you know, pretty wedding. So I feel like that was automatically just like, you know, pinned heavily. So I can't say I did like any sort of magic. I had no idea the algorithms of Pinterest at that time. So I can't say I knew exactly what I was doing.
Well, it must be amazing to go on Pinterest today and still see those images being pinned all over the place.
Yeah. But the thing is, you don't get credit for it because it like they credit. Like if you ever try to go send,
you're like, well, I did that, but maybe somebody will figure it out one day.
It's okay.
Who was your first celebrity client, if you can share? Who was one of the first?
I would say for more of an A-list would probably be Jessica Alba.
Amazing. And then
I think it was probably her, I think from years ago.
Yeah. And then what effect did having that first celebrity high profile client have on your business?
I think other clients in her circle, like I think when she referred us to other like clients that are in her circle, it gave like validation. So I think her assistant would pass her information on. And some of the stuff that we did for her, like in her home, whether it was for her personal like holiday or her kid's birthday, we never posted anything about it. Yeah, so I think they saw that we were protecting the Warren family's like interests and their privacy. And I think from that, it allowed other people to realize like, yes, she allowed us to post certain things. But in general, when it came to like her family, her kids, I mean, now her kids are all over like her Instagram, but back then she was still super protective. And I totally understand that. Because there would be people like, I'd be talking to her assistant and she would have the kids in the car and they would be like chasing her. Paparazzi would be like chasing her thinking that Jessica was in the car. So I think that did give us like validation to her circle of friends and other people that knew that our interest was into protecting our clients and not trying to make money off of them in like that way of selling their photos.
How did you feel when you got that call?
It wasn't necessarily from her because it was like a past bride that worked for her. So, I mean, it was kind of cool. So it was one of my past brides who worked for Honest Company, and nobody really knew what Honest Company was back then. And so she's like, we're launching this, product, and Jessica's heavily involved in it. She's kind of one of the founders. And then I had to understand the product myself. I didn't know what it really was. My daughter was already out of diapers at that point. So I had to kind of understand who she was trying to target, what the purpose was behind it. I happened to be on a speaking panel with her in Brentwood, and it was like Erin Condren. There was like all like female business entrepreneurs. Yeah. And so I got to hear her story firsthand of why she started the Honest Company. And it was because her daughter ate the inside of a diaper. She didn't realize it. Like one day, like she turns over, her daughter's picked through, broke open, and started eating the inside of a diaper. And she went online, and honestly, if you went online now, you don't know what's inside that diaper. Like you don't know what chemicals are in those diapers. So, and so that was very interesting of like her fear, and then her taking her daughter to the hospital. And that was what inspired her to create a product where if her kids, ate something, whether it was soap or something else, they wouldn't be poisoned with chemicals. So that was very interesting to hear her story firsthand.
What are some of the challenges working with celebrities?
We've been really lucky because a lot of times it depends on the layers. Sometimes we work with the celebrities directly, and they're actually honestly all really easygoing because they have so many other things in their lives. They're not really honed in on just like wedding planning. They feel like they hired a professional and they tell the professional what their needs are, what their wants are. They feel like they're being listened to. I think they kind of give you a little bit more like leniency to kind of like, okay, let her run with it. She's going to present ideas. Ultimately, they still get the final approval. And that's the most important thing for any client. And then sometimes we deal with maybe their assistants. But most assistants are all amazing because they wouldn't be in that job if they didn't have like complete balancing act capabilities. Like they're juggling so many things of the celebrity's life that I'm just like one little thing in their daily life, but they have a much harder job than I do. So we've been really blessed, like working with like a lot of the assistants and with the celebrities themselves. Like it's been actually really great.
What do you enjoy most about being a planner and designer?
I think when it becomes like a project that is different or unique, when a client says, there's certain things I like, but I don't know how to fill in the rest of the puzzle. Like they've given me a couple pieces and now I need to like build the rest. Those are like my favorite because then I get to think about like, okay, so we want to do it this way. And then now I get to say, okay, let's use this material. Let's use this color. Let's use this company. Like I have one in September. It's a 450 person wedding and now it's 100 person and it's at a different venue. So it's indoor Beverly Hills Hotel. Now it's outdoor Montage Laguna. And so of course the design, the style is completely changed. We're starting over completely. And even some of their vendors, like her rental company was like an LA based company. And a lot of the things really don't clash, or don't work. They clash. But I just said, you know what, let's be loyal to that vendor because he was supportive. He moved your date multiple times. Like, you have a deposit with him. What can we still get from him that makes sense? Because we want to still try to support him as a vendor who supported you through this process. And then we'll cancel things that don't work, but like, let's at least try to hit our deposit amount, and not just completely cancel. But then you're going to go, okay, great. We've taken care of this vendor. Now what are we doing completely different? We're building cabanas. We're not in a ballroom anymore. Like, just everything's just so different that, it gets so much more fun. So I love having that ability to just like change the space and transition from something that was like a small little idea to something like, and then you get to see it all come together.
Yeah. What has been one of your biggest transformations?
Like as far as the space is concerned?
Yeah.
I think probably the hardest one was a ceiling installation. And this was probably like maybe 7 or 8 years ago when we weren't really doing that many of them. And it was for that 1,200 person wedding where we had to create a ceiling installation from one wall to the other side of the ballroom. And it was just, I think every time I walked to that ballroom, like 40 hours before, 30 hours before, 24 hours before, I'm like, it's just not enough flowers. Like you keep like looking up and you're keep looking down. You're like, is this enough? Is this enough? And it's just like, you do get like a little anxiety because you think like, okay, is this like, are we gonna be done in time? Is this like, is this enough? So I feel like ceiling installations maybe about 7 years ago was definitely challenging because really people didn't know how much inventory it took and how much time it took. So it was very, very risky. And to do that big of an installation, it was really, really, I think I was really freaked out. Even
But
the night before. Yeah.
So you said 40 hours ahead of time they started setting up? Or was it even
so
before then?
It was the hardest part because I still had to run their other events, So so I would go from their actual wedding was at Hyatt Huntington Beach, but they also had an event like at Monarch Beach and Dana Point. So I'd be trying to run back and forth between like the different events, and I would come back and it'd be like 1 a.m. in the morning and I'm like, okay, I gotta go to the ballroom. I gotta see where I'm at, and you're like, you get there, you're like, where's everybody? Why isn't anybody working? Why is this not like built faster? No, they did a great job. They finished perfectly on time, but I think at that time you just didn't really know. And at the same time, the other vendor didn't either. We were all like,
you're all learning.
Still trying to figure things out,
And now everyone's a pro.
Yeah.
Now that you have some time to kind of reset and you have time to like think about your company, what's next for Detailed Details? Are you planning on growing more for your team? Because I know you have so many postponements for next year.
Yeah.
Do you feel like adding more planners to book new dates will be beneficial to your company?
No, I think because I'm looking at not just our calendar, but looking at the venues calendars and speaking with the different, venues that we work with, they're looking at their capacity. And I would say anywhere from 50 to 70% of their 2021s have moved. 2020s have moved into next year. And then the other percentage have just completely canceled. So they're not even able to book that many new clients themselves because they've had to roll over so many clients from past, just from the dates that we've had to roll over from spring and summer. And then at the same time, they also lost a lot of their corporate business, and their corporate business is also trying to rebook. So they have to leave space for that as well, too. So it's definitely a juggling act. So I don't see us bringing on more people, at least for 2021, because we already have like inquiries for 2022, because not because they really want it. It's because they can't get the right dates they want for 2021.
Well, thank you so much, Jeannie. This was an amazing conversation. We both really appreciate everything that you shared.
Thanks for having me.
Is there anything else that you want to share with us and our viewers?
No, I just want to wish you guys, much like health and happiness. I think like we're all going through just like unprecedented times, and it's hard to really navigate. I think I personally go through like up and down emotions of moments where I'm like, okay, we're going to get through this. Like it's going to be done. It's over with. And the next thing you know, like all of a sudden the cases are a rise, and all of a sudden I'm wearing gloves again at like Trader Joe's, you know? So like, I think I have my moments of just feeling like just very emotional at times too. And I think it's okay. So I just wish that everybody out there just stays like mentally okay. Cause I think this is really, really tough for everybody. And I just hope that like everyone, especially you guys too, you know, just are good, you know, through all this.
Oh, well, thank you very
Thank
much. I
you.
think that's one reason why we're definitely doing this, and one reason why we love connecting with people like you and other creative partners in the industry. We love hearing how people are doing and just seeing how they're keeping themselves busy and happy, and we're just trying to stay positive and during these difficult times. So thank you for being one of those positive factors in our day today.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, you guys.
This week's venue spotlight is Hangar 21. Located in the heart of Southern California at Fullerton Airport, Hangar 21 serves as the most unique wedding and event space in Orange County. With a large open floor plan and versatile indoor and outdoor entertaining options, Hangar 21 provides the ultimate blank canvas designed to let you create the wedding or event you've always dreamed of. Impress the guests with a grand entrance and a helicopter, and even a ride of their own. With up to 20,000 square feet of space, the entire property can accommodate up to 1,200 guests. Hangar 21 South is quickly becoming one of Southern California's most sought-after wedding and event venues. While couples receive the most unique experience of taking their wedding photos on the tarmac. Its 20-foot ceilings are complemented by exposed brick walls and a private 4,000 square foot outdoor terrace, giving it an ideal flexibility for hosting all sorts of events. This venue is truly one of a kind. Our next guest is Melody Corvalán from the Hotel Del Coronado. With an impressive career in the hospitality industry spanning over 16 years and across multiple states, Melody has helped orchestrate countless exquisite events, ranging from intimate dinner parties to large corporate galas. In addition to her catering team at the Hotel Del Coronado, she is also an event producer with Her App, an application aimed at connecting queer women across the country. Melody has also served on NACE, the National Association of Catering and Events, as their vice president of the Los Angeles chapter, and remains active in several hospitality organizations. And now our conversation with Melody Corvalán.
Melody, welcome to the Wedding Remix.
Thank you.
I'm so excited. You just touched down and you're here in our studio. And you look great. I keep telling her I'm obsessed with her eyebrows. And I have to go to her person.
Best compliment ever.
Well, we appreciate your time today. We're so excited to hear your story and your journey. I think for me, I'm so curious about your path in the hospitality industry.
So Melody, let's dive a little bit deeper into your background and get to know you a little bit better. So I've read that when you were younger, you were always drawn to the seemingly luxurious world of the hospitality industry. Mm-hmm. Was there a specific moment that you thought it would be the right path for you?
Yes. I'm a San Diego native, so grew up elementary school, middle school, high school here in San Diego. And we are just so lucky because it's a tourist destination, and this is where we call home. So when I turned 16 and I got my driver's license and naturally wanted to get my first job, I told my mom, I want to work at a hotel. I think it seems so cool. And she answered, "Are you crazy? Hotels are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're going to work on Christmas and New Year's." And she named probably another 100 reasons why it was a terrible idea to work at a hotel. Mm-hmm. And here I am.
Here you are.
Living your best life.
Yes, my dream.
So aside from seeing a lot of the tourists here in San Diego, before that moment when you were 16, was there anything else, like an event that you saw or events that you were surrounded by that made you want to be just in the hospitality industry or more curious about it?
There's just so many aspects of it that drew me there. One, my mom has always been like a creative type, and before like Pinterest and DIY was a thing, that was her. Yeah. She has 4 daughters, and of course birthdays and baptisms and any occasion, even Sunday dinner, something as simple as a Sunday dinner. For us, we don't have a little family, we have a big Mexican family, so it was always an event, and I think that definitely planted the seed. In the hospitality world, you are literally paid to be happy and to smile and maybe to turn some guest experiences around. And so that was kind of always like a major draw to me is, you know, people pay a lot of money to be in these amazing places, and they're actually paying me to be in this place and to be happy and to smile. And that basic element was something that I felt very magnetized to.
Yeah. So when you were studying business at the University of Utah, did you know exactly what position you wanted to go into at a hotel, or did you just know that that's what you wanted to do and you'd figure it out?
So when I was in college, as most college students, not knowing what they wanted to do with their life, I knew that I wanted to find an industry that I could live anywhere around the world. That was kind of the only thing that I had in my head. And so I studied international business thinking, well, find some business that's international that I can be a part of. Because I went out of state for college, I was far away from my mother, who had told me not to get a job in the hospitality world. There was a little Marriott hotel right behind the university, and I figured with my weird schedule, classes on days, evenings, all that good stuff, that they would have a job for me. So I applied for a front desk agent. That's like an easy into the hotel world. And the person who interviewed me is still one of my very best friends. She's an area general manager now, and at the time she was a front desk supervisor. Wow. And she interviewed me, and I still remember the one question that helped me get hired on the spot. And that was, how do you respond to pressure? And I said, I respond better. And she said, what do you mean? And I kind of went on about how for some reason when I feel pressure, I tend to make better choices. I tend to react like in a higher form, and whatever my little 20-year-old brain at the time said, it worked. And the funny part was, she said, well, we do have this front desk agent position available, but there's another position called an AYS agent. It pays $1 more, and I would think that you would be perfect for that position. Ooh. Yeah. And so I only heard $1 more. And so yes. I was like, yes, I would love it. And then at the end, I called my mom to break the news that I had
gone against her wishes.
Exactly, went behind her back and got a job in a hotel, but that I got a job as an AYS agent. And then she goes, well, what is AYS? And I said, I have no idea. And so had to start my first day in the hotel world in a position that I had no clue what I had signed up for. So it was basically a PBX operator in the Marriott world. They say at your service, and it was a perfect intro job. I feel like even better than the front desk, because I was kind of the connector of all different departments. Yeah. So I had to learn what every single department in the hotel world's function was, and who completed what and when.
It was a crash course.
It was a crash course. So I was in that position for a total of 6 months, just in time for me to have the ability to transfer into what I decided was my ultimate career, which was in the catering department. So, yeah.
Oh, well, I like that comment about working better under pressure.
Yes.
Diamonds
yes.
from pressure, and look what came from that.
Exactly.
Over the last 16 plus years, you've had the opportunity to work at many great properties in both California and Utah. Can you tell us more about your journey to eventually landing your dream job at the Hotel Del Coronado? I know you started in the front desk, and then you got into catering. What was the next step to move to different properties to finally weave your way into Dell?
So most hotels are owned and managed by two separate entities. And the management companies that run the hotels, they could run different hotels under different flags. So for example, a management company can have a Hilton brand, and they can have a Marriott branded hotel. So I was at a Marriott in Salt Lake City while I was going to school at the University of Utah. And of course, eventually I wanted to come home to San Diego because it's San Diego and you never want to leave. And so that management company owned or managed numerous hotels in San Diego. And I interviewed for my first manager position for, currently it's a Fairfield Inn in Old Town. Back then it was a Holiday Inn Express. And the beauty of this position was that they had never had anyone that sold or executed any events on property. As a limited service hotel, they didn't have a lot of event space, indoor or outdoor. And so they thought, you know what, we're going to bring somebody in to sell it and see if it brings us any money, you know, any potential. And so they gave me a made-up annual goal because, of course, it was never tried or tested. And I came in and in the first year was able to double what they had asked of me. Wow. And I was very proud of it, so much that they, I was getting really creative, and there was like a break in between two of the buildings, and that I started putting events in that little empty space. And they, and I named it, and I had a photo shoot and the whole thing. And it was a really great experience. I was there for a year and a half, and it was definitely one of those hotels that was worn out. They'd never gone through any type of renovation, and so it really taught me how to sell. I would stand over the big stain in the middle of their biggest event space and say, oh, this is my beautiful ballroom, you know, and you just did what you had to do to, you know, make that sale, and it was a big test for myself to prove myself that I was able to do, you know, what I had set out for myself.
Well, we've all heard the Dell with its iconic turret, postcard-worthy beach, and long list of historic celebrity events. Tell us a little more about the property and its incredible history.
Oh my goodness, it's my favorite topic to talk about. Like I said, I am from San Diego, so what is always jaw-dropping for most people to hear is that my first time at the Dell was my interview. I did not grow up going to this iconic resort. I'm not sure why, I just didn't. But being in hotels, it was always kind of like a bucket list job was, you know, and I thought maybe one day when I'm like old and gray, 5 years from retirement, they'll even think about giving me a chance. But so this hotel, it just means so much to a lot of people. It really goes hand in hand with the history of San Diego. The Dell celebrated its 132nd anniversary of its doors opening this February. And it really has to do with the creation of Coronado, the island, and the community. It really goes hand in hand with the building of the Dell. It has 757 guest rooms, and it's currently under a 5-year, $40 million renovation and expansion. So it is definitely an exciting time for the Dell, and it really has found the balance between maintaining its historic things that you love about the Dell, and it's even bringing some things back that they had gotten rid of years ago. For example, it has a wraparound porch that used to exist when the doors opened 132 years ago, and somewhere along the way they got rid of this beautiful porch, and they're restoring it and bringing it back. And that's just one of many, many examples of things that they're doing to bring back the beauty of what it was, you know, 100 years ago. But then they're making it more beautiful and adding a lot of different things to it that I'm excited to see myself. So,
what's your most favorite part of the property? Is there a place that you always like have to like go to every day, or like, that you appreciate?
My favorite part is the turret. It's not a thing you're supposed to be able to go to. It's not like an open part of the public. In the almost 4 years that I've been at the Dell, I've only been up 2 times. The first time, I didn't even know it was possible to go up there. And somehow, I don't even know, a security guard offered to take me up.
Yeah.
And I made this, the experience so awkward for him because, again, as a San Diegan, it just was such an emotional experience for me to be able to be standing in this turret and seeing the gorgeous coast and the Pacific Ocean on one side, and then on the other side, the beautiful city that I call home. And I started crying, and I held his hand, and he was like, lady, you were so weird.
We need to go.
Yeah, exactly. But it just was so overwhelming of just the beauty and the gratitude I felt of everything. I come from immigrant grandparents and parents who struggle to, maintain living in this very expensive city, but knew that this is the place for us and I wouldn't have it any other way. And that is definitely the spot of the Dell. And like I said, I've gone up 1, maybe 2 more times, and every time it's that overwhelming and wonderful.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So is there a possibility to squeeze that into a wedding package?
Oh, yes. I would do it for a bride for sure. And I have done it for them. For me, it's more of I will get them up there. I will not do it because it's like
Is it a trek going up?
It's a trek.
Okay.
Yeah. The first time I was a lot heavier. I've lost some weight while working at the Dell. It is 30 acres, and I've run around that place countless times. But I was sore for 2 days, just because it's so many stairs, and then it's like a birth canal. It's so little, and to get all the way to the top, it's a journey. So I usually tell my couples that I don't want to take them up on their wedding day because the dress would get ruined and the tux and the whole thing. So it's usually a day before, day after thing. But I have taken many brides and grooms up there for sure.
So sweet. It makes great for photos. So that's a huge incentive to.
Oh yes, we'll get you up there.
For events. How have weddings and events changed over the past few years since you began working there?
The Dell has been by far my favorite place to have an event, just because it's so large and there's so many different places, indoor and outdoor, that you can choose to have your event, that not one event is the same. And at the Dell, sometimes you think that it's just so massive that you have to have 600 people to have an event there. And my favorite events have been anywhere from a 15-person elegant destination elopement to my big grand galas and everything in between. And my favorite part is that we don't do anything cookie cutter there. It's so custom and so personalized that I feel like for one that has many events, every week, that there's no boringness to anything that we do.
Yeah.
And now we'd like to take a quick moment to thank our sponsors. To Be Designed is San Diego's most unique and custom rental design house. TBD creates memorable moments by creating things their clients wish existed. To Be Designed started with offering unique selections of event rentals, and it is still the cornerstone of the business. From sofas to dining to custom bars, they have everything you need to bring your event to life. They are constantly updating the inventory to stay fresh and unique. Be sure to check them out at tbdsandiego.com. And now, back to our program.
Well, we know properties handle booking, executing, planning differently. Sometimes different teams manage that. Sometimes the same person does that. At the Dell, do you both sell and execute events?
We do. So the catering department is with you from the time that you call to inquire about the date, to inquire and about all questions about a possible event at the Dell, all the way to the time that the event is happening. We are there with you and everything in between. So it's actually why I chose specifically catering, because in hotels, most of the time, that's the way it is. And that's why I specifically chose Catering World rather than conference services or the events department, just because, I can't imagine not having that relationship with my client, just from beginning to the end.
Yeah. So out of all the past properties that you've worked at, which one has taught you the most about yourself and the hospitality industry?
So I worked at the Westin in San Diego. There's 2 Westins in San Diego, so I would like to clarify. Not the gas lamp one that was in Old Horton Plaza, but Westin San Diego with the green hexagons on top, very visible from the downtown skyline. I worked at that hotel in 2007 to 2009, and that was right before the economy crashed. I was also pregnant with my son. So it was kind of like 2 scary things happening all at once.
Yeah.
And it was my first time that I was at a big named resort in a downtown location. And again, I felt like I was still trying to prove myself in my career. I went from being at a Holiday Inn Express to this, grand ballrooms at the Westin, and couldn't pay someone to have an event there. And it was just so frustrating and mind-boggling, but it also pushed me to think outside the box. And from everything to connecting with a client in a different way, to having to do cold calls and sales calls daily to just try to get our name and our faces out there, just because the economy was so bad and budgets were cut and no one was able to have a party, much like what we're about to experience now with COVID. So it's very interesting.
Well, I mean, you said it yourself. That's the property that you learned the most at during that time. So even in difficult situations, good things can come from it. So
Right.
We'll see what happens.
Yes. Yeah, I'm excited.
What is your favorite memory from working at the Dell?
One, I think that with every wedding, there is a moment that I will cherish and think about like till the day that I die. It's just one of those things of why I do what I do is to witness that one moment, in that wedding. But aside from weddings, I do so many other, different events. Sometimes celebrities are involved, and I have the pleasure of, being a part of those types of things. Sometimes it's like the entertainment. Hearing opera singers off of our Juliet balcony in the Crown Room with the acoustics of that space was moving and felt, like it was kind of like a historic moment in itself. So I don't think I can pinpoint a specific one just because there's so many. Too many.
It's a good problem to have.
It is a great problem to have, yes. I'm a very lucky person.
Was there a favorite celebrity event that you had at the Dell?
That you're allowed to talk about.
Yeah.
I know. I probably will ruin it. Well, I definitely have a horror story of a celebrity.
Yeah,
do you? I'll give you that. So Mario Lopez is from San Diego. Yep. He's from Chula Vista. I am from Chula Vista, and he was the worst human on the planet.
Ooh.
Yes, and I'm so bummed about it. Yeah,
so nice.
I know.
Doesn't he? And he's just beautiful.
It's that dimple that just he's a sweet man.
He is definitely not, and it makes me sad. Let's see, I won't name who they are, but we host some really big names during Comic-Con. And even though I don't personally do anything for Comic-Con, it's just such a busy time in any hotel in San Diego that I've had the pleasure of helping out with those and with those celebrities, and there's been some really fun ones at the Dell, and a good place to walk around during Comic-Con, like after 10 p.m. is the Dell, because that's when the celebrities come out. So pro tip there.
Good tip.
Yeah.
I love constructive criticism and think we should all be open to feedback from our peers to continue to learn and grow. What are some things you believe planners and other creative partners could do better to make events more successful at your property or other properties you worked at?
Oh, this is probably my favorite question.
Be honest.
Oh, I will. I am, first off, my honesty gets me in trouble. I think that the event industry in general, and hotel industry as well, it's very small. And I absolutely remember the vendors that I would have the pleasure of meeting, whether at an event or wherever, and gave me zero time or courtesy when I worked at a Holiday Inn Express, and now are banging down my door at the Hotel Del Coronado. Because, like I said, we're a very small industry, and those who, and it goes both ways, right? So the tiny little startup, DJ, I've seen it happen, will now become the conglomerate of entertainment AV, multi-purpose company. And so if he's trying to get my business now, I'm going to be wanting to make sure we have a really great relationship, because when he has all the success in the world, that relationship will only get better and stronger. And so the same thing, be kind to those catering managers that work at rink-a-dink old little tiny properties, because they will be, the directors of catering at amazing, beautiful resorts that you do want to work at and work with. So I think that is my biggest takeaway from our industry, is that it is small, and we're all growing, and there's enough business for everyone.
If you could go back 10 years, what's one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Everything's going to be okay. Just when the economy is hard. It's purely based on financials for me, never based on the location, hotel, resort, or the fact that I do events. It's always just kind of been an industry that relies on a good economy. So that's the tough part.
And then what are some of your current goals in either your personal life, your work life?
I've been thinking a lot about those actually recently. As I've been in this industry for a while, I really want to kind of share my knowledge. This opportunity I'm so grateful for, just because if it helps anyone out or gives them any type of direction. Mentorship is a big thing. I don't think I ever found anyone that I felt helped me in my career. Also, when I got in, it was all white ladies, older white ladies, and as a queer Latinx, I just didn't feel like I related to anyone in my industry, and I've seen it grow into this beautiful, diverse, mosh posh of people, which I love. And I feel like that's kind of like the younger generation of the event industry. So my goal is continue to learn, continue to grow, to stay open-minded, but at the same time, continue to connect, specifically with maybe people that are newer in the industry. I remember working at that Holiday Inn Express, and it being rare to see someone from the Hotel Del Coronado attend an event, industry networking event. And I remember specifically a time where I found out, and I beelined to them because I had so many questions, like, how did they do it? How did they get to work at the Dell? And they were a little standoffish and cold. And I have told my team, that's not going to be us. We're going to attend often. We're going to smile and work the room and be friendly to everyone. And that's always kind of been an important thing to me. And so as far as goals-wise, I think that would be, obviously short-term things that I want to focus on. Eventually, would I love to be known as the voice of weddings of San Diego? Absolutely. So we'll work on that as well.
I can't wait to see what comes from that.
Yeah.
So we're going to go straight into our speed lightning rounds of questions.
Let's do it.
Cool. Do you prefer the beachfront or poolside?
Poolside.
Favorite accessory to wear?
Earrings.
Skirts or dresses?
Skirts.
If you had to choose showstopper clothes, killer shoes, or stylish accessories?
Shoes.
How many pairs do you
doubt.
have?
Not that many,
Okay.
to be honest. Yeah, maybe 20, but it's the right 20.
Okay, perfect. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Favorite things about farmer markets?
Farmers markets, the succulents.
Tennis shoes or stilettos?
Stilettos.
All day.
All day, every day. Can run a
Shoe cam.
5K.
I keep requesting for shoe cam. Velvet or chiffon?
Velvet.
Cakes or cupcakes?
Cupcakes.
If you could plan any celebrity's wedding, whose would it be?
J-Lo and A-Rod.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
We're manifesting it for
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
And
Your dream property to work at? It could be anywhere in the world.
Honestly, I work at my dream property.
amazing.
Love you.
Aside from Diego, what's the best gift you've ever been given?
Flights. Yeah.
What's your go-to restaurant for amazing food?
I don't have one.
One.
It-
What's a good one that you
Top
would suggest?
one that you suggest.
Oh my goodness.
For Liz, who hasn't been to San
Yeah.
Diego
Oh
too
my
much.
gosh. For me, I like hole in the walls. Actually, one exit away, there's a Salvadorian restaurant. It's called El Salvadoreño.
I was asking about pupusas
Pupusas,
yesterday.
Yes. It's like in the ghetto, and I've watched it grow. I started going when I was in high school, so amazing food. That
Okay.
no one would know about it.
Gonna go get some pupusas
Lunch
after
after
this.
this.
Yes. We'll do a pupusa run.
Yes.
What's your favorite drink when you're out having a good time?
Old fashioned.
What's your most played song, album, or artist?
Sam Smith.
Name 3 things on your bucket list.
The Eiffel Tower, Machu Picchu. Probably something to do with Diego. Probably like his the mother-son wedding dance thing. Yeah.
What's something you're not very good at but wish you were better
Singing.
at?
100%.
And lastly, what's a recent show that you binge watched?
Pose.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
When's season 2 coming out?
Season 2 came out. Yeah, you are late.
Oh, this is
Yes. Episode 3 will change your life.
We're gonna eat pupusas and binge watch
Yes.
today.
After this?
Yeah.
Well, Mel, thank you so much for coming on the show
My
today.
pleasure.
We really appreciate you sharing so much about yourself
Thank
and
you
your story.
both.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you want to share?
I don't think so. I was very impressed with like all the research you did on me and everything. So no, I just feel very lucky and very grateful. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody, that's our show for this week. We'll see you next time. Thanks again, and make sure that you like, follow, share, subscribe. We'll see you next time. This is The Wedding Remix.